Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Authentic Info Podcast. I am your host, Admar Sandile Chau. In this episode, we're looking at the highlights of the speech of the newly elected ANC Youth League President, Collen Malatjie. You'll remember that over the weekend, the ANC Youth League held its 26th election conference, where we saw the new structure of the ANC Youth League after a drought of at least 8 years. So over the weekend, they held their conference. We saw new leadership consisting of 3 women and 3 males. And for the history of the ANC Youth League, having its first female deputy president. Now, you remember that the ANC Youth League was formed or established on the 2nd of April 1944 by Antonio Lembede, Nelson Mandela, Oliver Tambo, Walter Sisulu, and Ashbim Da. I don't know if I forget anyone, but its mission initially was to put to end to the apartheid. That was its mission, generational mission of its formation. I think they have achieved that because they have delivered the so-called political freedom. And now, over the weekend, we have had the new ANC Youth League President, Collen Malatjie, stating some points or highlighting some facts which would form part of their generational mission, and stating that each and every youth league leadership has their own generational mission. But we saw him taking a jab at the EFF leader Julius Malema. We saw him speaking about the age of the ANC people in parliament. We saw him speaking about the unemployment rate in South Africa. But there are many things questionable about that structure, the way it was elected or put to power. People are of the view that it was orchestrated by Fikile Mbalula so as to use them in 2027. But those facts were dismissed by the president of the newly elected structure of the ANC Youth League. But it seems like a lot of people are not convinced by this guy. His leadership is questioned. His academic profile is questioned. A lot of things are questioned about him. But what's very interesting is that they have 3 women in the top 6 and 3 males. But another thing that we will humble or surprise you is that when are we going to see the youth league that also resembles the racial structures of South Africa? I mean, we need to see a white person, we need to see a colored person, we need to see an Indian person. But that is not the topic today. Today we're going to look at the highlights of the president. But before that, I can also give the names and the positions of the new elected top 6 of the ANC Youth League. The president, number 1, is Collen Malatjie, and the deputy president for the first time is a woman, Phumzile Mgcina, and the secretary general is Mtuoxolo Ngudle, and first deputy secretary is Tsakan Shiviti, second deputy secretary is Olga Siete, and the treasurer general is Zwelo Maslen. Now these are the top 6 of the newly elected ANC Youth League. Now in his address, he upon being asked questions by the media, he highlighted at least 6 to 7 points, which I think are very interesting, and they got people talking on the question of representation in parliament. They say that next year, after the elections, they are not going to agree to 80% representation of all people in parliament. They say that most of those people must advise and not serve in parliament. They want 50-50. They want 50% to be young people of the ANC representing the people of South Africa in parliament. And then they can give 50% to, they would like at least the elders who are above 60 to at least occupy 60% of those structures. 50% of those structures. But it says that even if they can come back 70-30, it will be fine. So we see compromises already before they even implement their mission. Another thing is that it stated that the ANC has its own rules, and so has the ANC Youth League. This is where we saw him taking a jab at EFF leader and former ANC Youth League president Julius Malema, where he said that Julius Malema was fired from the ANC because of his misbehavior, not because of their generational mission of economic freedom in their lifetime. So he stood there to seek to correct the media on the fact that Malema was fired because he was disrespectful. He was disrespecting the elders in the ANC, and he was acting against the constitution and the provisions of the ANC Youth League. So these are his views. But a lot of people seem to have been very disappointed because of him taking a jab at Malema, who has left the ANC and the ANC Youth League 11 years ago to form his political party, which is already in parliament. And people thought he was going to focus on reviving the ANC Youth League and entrusting the people, young people of South Africa, and give them hope that the ANC Youth League is back. So another point that he raised was to speak of the way the ANC Youth League structures have had their own generational missions, stating that their own generational mission, that is of the new elected top six, is that they want to see young people occupying and forming part in strategic economic positions. They want to see people. They also want to see the Reserve Bank being nationalized. They also want, actually, it's some sort of copy and paste of what the Youth League of Julius Malema used to talk about. So maybe they seek relevance. They're going to be the copycats of the young lions of the generation of Julius Malema, Floyd, Cindy Swa, and the likes of the current Minister of Justice and Correctional Services, Ronald Lamula, who were speaking they were very vocal on the issue of economic freedom in our lifetime. We heard them speaking about nationalization. Even the Youth League of the 26th conference is speaking about nationalization of strategic sectors. So we don't know how they're going to implement this, and we don't know how radical they are going to be, actively, not through voices. Another thing which he pointed out is the restructuring of the economy to benefit the majority being black South Africans. This is where he stated that private companies, actually black people, should be seen being funded or being given opportunities to run black businesses. Black businesses must be considered by government, and then they must be supported and things like that. And he also spoke on job creation, and that they have plans to create jobs for young people, and they're going to advocate for that. So these are some of his points. But I saw him again in some interview where he was asked by one media house about them not being captured, because you remember that these guys were elected unopposed, and we saw some of the people being shown the gate during that conference. People who wanted to question things like the way the result came out and things like that. Being asked whether this is a Mbalula strategy or whether they are Mbalula puppets, he disagreed, and they says that they have their mission and they cannot speak about 2027 before the elections of 2024. He says that they are here to revive the ANC Youth League and to give it hope. I mean, give young black people hope. So we are going to be carefully looking at whatever promises that he made over the weekend. He says he's going to organize provincial structures and they are going to talk to each other, meet and talk to each other. And then after he's going to give a closing address, a proper one. Maybe he's still going to prepare. Maybe he was not sure that he's going to emerge victorious and things like that. Or maybe he's not the right guy for the job, because most of the people who support the ANC and who are young, they don't seem convinced by this newly elected leader. I don't know whether people want to see another Malema, because others says that no, here is another Malema's match. But we have seen a lot of people coming and going. We've seen when the current Minister of Justice and Correctional Services, Ronald Lamola, when he was sworn in Parliament, people said Julius Malema has met his match. So they expect to see someone coming from the ANC to destroy EFF leader Julius Malema. And I don't know whether that happens to be a mission of any political party, to destroy a leader of opposition, because we need opposition parties to be very active and to help us hold to account people who are in leadership positions in government. Because truly speaking, the ANC fails to hold its delegates to account, because it is a party which should call on people who are underperforming in all these strategic positions in government, in parliament, wherever, to call them and to make sure that they account. But they are not doing that, and it's very difficult for them to fire a minister. They better switch that person to another portfolio and things like that. And it doesn't move the country, truly speaking, because although we can say that in private business, the CEOs or managers or supervisors are very harsh on employees, but there you are expected to perform, and if you don't perform, you lose your job. But we don't see that in government. People underperforms. We see buildings being dilapidated, hospitals lacks medicine. We see schools structures are down, but there are teachers, there are principals there who are working. So I think the ANC must cleanse itself. And I am also not convinced of this new top six, but I'm willing to give them a chance to be tried and tested so that we can see where it goes. But the ANC has survived for 8 years. The past 8 years without a youth league structure, the ANC was surviving. So I also see no need. They shouldn't have revived or tried to bring the ANC Youth League back. Because if they could survive and go to vote and things like that without this structure, it means there is no longer room or space for a structure like this one. But nonetheless, on this episode, we just wanted to touch on that, to speak about the highlights of the speech of the new president, and to give my views on whether it's the right one or not, and things like that, and not to compare him to the previous leaders of the ANC Youth League. But I think he also has to take notes take what is right, leave what is wrong, put it together with whatever ideas that he has, so that he can lead, and be careful not to make the mistakes of leaders of the past. So thanks for watching. This is Authentic Info Podcast. Continue to view, subscribe, like, and share. Thank you.